All right, everyone. Welcome to the Double Your Business Show in 90 Days. I'm your host, Leslie Hassler, and you just saw my cat. One of them come down, which means he's going to be right here in a second. We are a weekly blab show here live every Monday afternoon, except for holidays, at 1:30. And we really are tackling all the subjects around doubling your business. So be sure to subscribe to the show. Follow us on all of our little social medias. Amy, I wanted to give kind of the shout out to how people can get connected to us on Facebook, because that's another great place to look for the shows and notifications. And that's just easily yourbizrules.com/FB for Facebook. Have a nice little quick link there for you, and Amy will put it into our chat box here in a second. We are going to be talking about the sales system. As I mentioned, I do love to have your participation, which is why I'm out here on Blab. So participate in the chat. Let us know what you think. That helps me make these shows so much better for you, and we will have some Q&A at the end. I'm going to go ahead and lock our seat until we get to that point, and then we will continue. So if we're going to talk about sales, so sales is a really big aspect of your business, right? And, you know, I kind of bounce back on this show between talking about sales, marketing, and then other ways to grow your business. And sales and marketing, I think, can be one of those confusing categories in your business. And I like to explain it that it's like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, you know, a nice thick peanut butter. Maybe you like crunchy, maybe you don't, who knows? And whatever your favorite kind of jelly in your best bread. And if you smushed it together and even maybe like squished it back and forth a little bit, if you were to try to open that sandwich, that peanut butter and jelly would be kind of stuck to each other, wouldn't it? That's kind of what sales and marketing is like. It's like the peanut butter and jelly of the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So when we're working on sales, we're impacting marketing, and your marketing should impact your sales, and they do kind of intermesh with each other. To the best of ability, we pull them out when we talk about them on the show, because I want you to have as much clarity around it as you will. But I want you to keep this in mind just as you're going through how you can improve your sales process and in part improve your marketing as part of the byproduct. So that's a lot of fun. We are, you know this, your business is one big, huge iceberg, and most people only see the top 10, 20%, and there's so much beneath it. So come back every week, because we really try to chip away at that iceberg as we can, but we're gonna go as deep as we can in our 40 minutes, so I can allow some time for some questions. So we are going to talk about creating a sales process that matches today's demanding client. I want to talk about today's new client, because I think, there's some plateauing or some explanation that we need in that area, so that we really understand what we're up against in business, and so that we also understand why it's normal. And a lot of businesses complain about today's demanding client. Well, that person's not going to go away. We just need a sales process that matches them, right, Amy? They don't go away, do they? She said no. She must have yourself on mute. I didn't hear her, but she said no. I'm going to go ahead. Oh, there you go. Hi. But we're going to talk about the yes formula. And we've talked about the yes formula a lot, haven't we, Amy? We've probably hit that like 5 or 6 times this year. But I know for everybody's new to the show, and so I'll go into that. And then I want to talk to you about this concept of selling the destination, not just the journey. This is maybe, if I had to personify, the number one biggest mistake I see business owners make is they focus on the journey and never sell the destination, and wonder why it's so hard to get sales in. So with that, we're going to dive right in. We have lots of good stuff, but I want you to play with me a little bit. And Amy, you're going to have to play too, so I can pick on you. So I want you to write down the number that you have in your mind for growth this year. The top line sales number. What is that number? And I'm going to write mine down too. I'll even share it, just so you know. Okay, so everybody write it down. Pen and paper. Now, hopefully you've got a piece of paper you can put up in your office, because it's really powerful when you put this stuff up, even just to visualize it and see it every day. It activates something in your brain. So Amy, do you want to share yours? You don't have to be specific if you don't want to. Ballpark works.
25,000.
All right, so that's increase in sales. I'm looking for 100,000 increase in sales. Guys out there, you can commit or not commit if you'd like to, but a commitment is more about you and not about me. So there's no judgment, at least on this end, of what you're looking for a bump in sales. Any bump is a good bump, and any bump should be tied to your specific goals. So we need to, why am I talking? Whoa, we were talking sales and I've gone off on mindset. Anybody have an idea? I know some of my coaches do out there. Because when we set a goal like that, we always have to get the right mindset behind it. So you've got that number. I want you to really look at and ask yourself, what does that number do for me in my business? A lot of people, you might be looking to hire more team. You might need to outsource a bit of your business so that you can focus on what you do well, right? That might be one reason that you're looking for an increase and what you might use that money for. You might be looking for more time. How many people could use some more time? Anyone out there? Give us some props if you could use more time. I have some PTA business going on. I'm going to give myself props. Oh, I can't. I'll give Amy props for more time, right? My time's pretty limited, and so I would always love, thank you, Amy, for giving me some props. Love to be able to get more time. Would that increase in sales that you're looking at, would that give you the ability to give more? I would say, I'm going to go out on a limb and say 100% of our clients that we have coming through Your Biz Rules, service, charity, community work is really important to them and how they feel important and making a difference in the world. Well, if your increased sales number would give you an increase to your bottom line or your take home, or even your business could be able to make charitable donations, well, what kind of impact would that do? How would that make you feel? Would you be happy? I don't know of anyone that would really be upset about it. No. I'm twisted. Oh, darn, I'm really mad. I have to write a $10,000 check to my church today. I know that's kind of silly, but bear with me. And the last one is this kind of freedom to fill in your blank. Everyone's different. What I have noticed about my clients is there's some sense of freedom that they're looking for, and it affects some sense of their life. It might be financial freedom. It might be the freedom to travel. It might be the freedom to have the dream car, the dream house, the dream vacation. You fill in the blank. But whatever that is, I just want, underneath that number, I just want you to jot down for me what you think it would give you. Because we all know getting an increase in some parts of our business is more effort than others. And it's always good to know why we're doing this. It helps us on kind of those bad days to look at this piece of paper and go, oh yeah, that's why. Amy, have you ever done that? Like have that horrible day and then just had to look back and go, yeah, that's why I'm doing this.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So who doesn't, right?
Right.
Okay, so I want to go over a few mistakes. I told you the big one that we're going to talk about is really this focusing more on the journey and not the destination. If that's a new concept to you, I will explain it in a few minutes. But the number one mistake I think we all suffer from, especially for women in business, is getting discouraged. Sales can be very discouraging if you don't feel that sales comes naturally. I have a son, man could sell ice to Eskimos. And someday I'm just like, I wonder when I can bring him on to do sales in my business. He's that good. And it's an innate talent. But for those of us that have to work on it as a skill, really when we're getting discouraged means we're taking the no's personally. We don't need to. We're saying we take it as a no for us. But what I have found, it's often our potential client is really saying a no to themselves. Kind of a different way to look at it. We also look at the no's and say that a no today is going to be a no tomorrow. The thing is that a no can be just for this moment at this time. It's not a good fit, but things could change in 3 months. So that talks about the follow-up, right? We all heard that the fortune's in the follow-up. Well, then you can't assume that a no today is a no tomorrow. Now, don't go crazy and bug people every other day. But you know what I mean? Put them on your follow-up. Put them on your ticker list so that you're following back up with people. And I think one of the things that I've noticed really is if you allow these frustrations to grow in your mind and in your heart as you're doing sales, what you start to do is discount opportunities. That means perfectly good clients are coming to your door, but you're so frustrated because you've been getting so many no's that you discount them and turn them into a no instead of turning them into a yes. So here's the point. Woo, was that a big concept? But here's the concept about it is that our sales process should be about guiding people to a yes, not necessarily guiding them to a no. If our marketing is doing a really, really good job, it's pre-qualifying our clients good enough that by the time they're calling, they're ours to lose. And then maybe we can make the choice about it not being the right client fit or for other decisions. But I just want to shift the concept to sales and to be just slightly more personable and enjoyable than necessarily, one to dread. Hey, Amy, do we want to do some shout outs out there?
Yeah, that would be great. So we want to welcome Hillary and Diane and Stephen, who came on with us early today.
Awesome. And then I see we've got a few other people kind of lurking out there, but not in our chat box. So say hi, but we're talking about the yes system to sales. So if any of the stuff that we've shared has been great, share those last 30 seconds out there in your favorite media channel. I can't because I can't multitask, so I have to ask you to do it. I have found that I cannot talk and type at the same time, so I have to rely on you guys to do this for us. So then the second mistake is really a lack of consistency. In all business, if marketing and sales isn't consistent, is where we get those hills and valleys, that roller coaster ride that's ever so fun to ride. It starts making your stomach lurch to think about it. But if you can think about this and maintaining consistency in sales and marketing, so there's a constant pipeline so that you're generating consistency. If you think about not keeping yourself out of those elements of do or die type moments where you maybe make some bad decisions and you bend the rules for the dollar, meaning you take a poor fit client to the detriment of your business just because you want to cash. Amy's just shaking her head. Who has not ever done that? I have done it. I try desperately not to do it, but even I do it at times, right? So it's a reality. You're human. That's kind of one of those things, but I want to bring it up so you see it. You might not ask for the sale because you're not consistent, and then you might let just good leaks leak out of the sales funnel. That's still that kind of discounting great opportunities or not following up with people because you're too busy and you don't have a sales process. The sales process makes it easy to keep into your week. But if you don't have that, then you're kind of flying by the seat of your pants. And I've never seen that work well. You at least need engine and propeller and a seat. So I think the last mistake, and if I were to personify, I would say I don't know that women particularly share this in as much, but you will still recognize it if you've been out networking, where people go in for the kill. Like they are ready to sell you even if you're not ready to buy. And I've had this, I had a personal situation. I was speaking, and then the gentleman go, "We need to talk. I've got exactly whatever you need to solve your problem." And I was like, "Really? Because what problem are you talking about?" Because I'm not one to let moss grow on my stone, so I'm not quite sure what you're talking about. That's that kind of going in for the kill kind of example. Amy, have you ever had anybody going in for the kill with you before?
Well, most definitely, yes.
Well, you bought a car recently last year. Did you experience that when you were buying a car?
Actually, no, not with a car, because we went with one of the, this is the price, that's the price, there's no negotiation ones. Because the last time we went in for a car, we got taken. So we didn't do for the hard sell this time.
Yeah, but this is a really good concept to bring here and for you to understand is that nobody likes to be sold to, but everybody likes to buy. So let's talk about this changing client. So there's two sides of this. I want to talk about yesterday's client first, and I think in some ways yesterday's client was a lot less demanding than today's client. The handshake was worth something. Right? You might be willing to make a business deal on a handshake without a contract. Today, I would say not so much, not what I would be recommending to you as a business coach. I think on the part of our consumers, there was more patience. So they were willing to wait for something if they felt like it was good. Today's consumer, not going to wait. Unfortunately, we've been primed to be very impatient. A lot of it, our desire for things outpaced the supply. So desire was up, supply was down, or supply was limited. I think you had more curiosity questions. People would be more inquisitive. They hadn't solved their problem yet, so they were earlier on in the buying decision than today's client. And then they paid cash a heck of a lot more than I think our society pays today. Now, if you flip and we talk about today's client and how they fit into the sales system, they're self-prescribing. Now, what do I mean by that? How many of you have felt icky and you've gone out and you've looked up on WebMD what's wrong, right? Or you want to be able to fix your bike and you go out and you look on YouTube about how to fix your bike, right? Today's consumer has access to so much information and that they can make assumptions. I'm not saying they're always right, and then that's what assumption, right? I'm not saying they're always right, but they can prescribe themselves. They can say, I'm having this problem, and go out and search, even if what they're trying to solve is actually a symptom of a bigger problem. Did that make sense, Amy? That was kind of a crazy way to say it. Okay, so we've all come up against that, where somebody's come into our business, they know what they need, and once we dig in, we're like, and that's so not what you need. It'd be a wrong thing to do. They're impatient, highly impatient, and we're not going to be any less impatient. If you can think about how many of you can pick up your phone right now, get onto Amazon while you're listening or watching to me, and spend $300 and have it shipped to your house in 2 days.
Very quickly.
Very quickly. Yeah. So you've got to see that you don't have long with your clients. And this is where that systems and processes, I'm not meaning to talk about all systems and processes today, but this is one area that systems and processes helps in your business. It helps keep you nimble and quick so that you can be responsive, so that you can serve this new client who is impatient. Takes a lot of education to break down that one. But there's also this democratization of product. If you get nothing else from me today, I want you to listen, like wide ears, eyes forward. I want you to listen to this. Democratization of product basically means that anyone can buy anything from anyone for any price. Make sense? How many people use good gravy? We'll go back to Amazon. You're in Best Buy. You're sitting here. You're looking at a refrigerator. What do you do? You pick up your phone and you search for the best price. Okay? Why is that important to you? Anybody know? Amy's laughing at me.
Tell us, Leslie.
Here's why it's important. It's not about price. Every business owner says it's about price. It's not. Because if they wanted it that cheap, they would have bought it already. Am I blowing anyone's mind with that? They're calling you knowing full well what it costs. Now, that doesn't mean they're not going to try to get the best deal from you. But I want you to understand that it's not always about price. Price is a word that we use because we don't have the vocabulary to express ourselves otherwise. All right? These clients are skeptic. They're looking for a lot more of affirmation and value. That's why if they have called you at this point in time, they want a live person to tell them they're doing the right thing. Okay, they don't want to make mistakes. They are time crunched and they're a little bit more affluent than people in the past. Now, what does that mean? Like if you were to take the sales funnel, right, and you would go through the stages of lead generation, first contact, qualification, presentation, estimate, maybe you do some objection handling, you close, you serve, and then that client should turn into to referrals. Okay, that's kind of the sales funnel in a nutshell. Before, you had a lot more time to market and educate and capture a client, right? But, pretty much through your first contact to your presentation, you had time to market and educate. Today's client comes to you with 60 to 90% of the purchase decision made. Okay? That's why this whole impatient cycle is there. So 60 to 90% of the purchasing decision means if they call you, you're on the short list. Make sense? So if they call you, don't send them to your website. Okay? I've had clients that have done this. It's like they have somebody calls with a question because we're discounting the opportunity, right? That one of those mistakes back there. They go, well, that information's on my website. Call me if I still work out for you. They're not going back to the website. You know what they're doing? Ding, 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 ding. Calling the next business. Okay? So you can throw away really good business if you don't understand how close people are to actually buying by the fact that they're calling. I don't know. I know I can be very, not passive aggressive, but introverted when I'm in purchase mode, right? I don't really want to talk to you until I'm ready to buy. That means you're going to have no time to market to me or sales to me. When I call, I've got 3 questions, and if you answer them right, then I'm done. That's the way I like to do that. But that's what a lot of people do. They're out there internet searching, and they've read about you, or they've talked to somebody about you. So don't discount those opportunities when they come. That's a huge thing if you can think about that you're on the short list the minute somebody calls. So I'm going to go over the 5 rules of sales. I'm going to have to, based on our time, we're going to take a break here and have Amy do some shout outs. I also want to go ahead and offer up to you our marketing quick fix, which is just one of the tools that we use in Your Biz Rules to help people determining what their marketing mix should be, and also some of the problems that they may be having in the marketing. And it's a cool tool. It has 87 different ways that you could be marketing your business, and I've organized it by how much money you should have to spend relatively, and how quickly you should be able to see results. So that's a pretty valuable gift. It's pretty eye-opening. So Amy's put it up there. But Amy, go ahead and let's do a couple of shout-outs. Let's see, we've had a couple people pop on.
Yeah, well, I'd like to welcome Alfredo, and also to remind folks that you can connect with Leslie on Facebook at yourbizrules.com/FB.
Yay. Let's be
So welcome. And then those of you, we've got several of you on the chat who are watching but aren't actually live with us. So hi, and we'd love to have you jump on and join us live and submit your questions.
Yeah, please have those questions ready, because I've got about 10, 15 more minutes, and then we'll be able to take on those questions. So let's jump into the 5 rules of sales. Now, I love rules, and one of the reasons I love rules is because people need a little structure. But I'll be the first one to tell you that you can bend and break them too. So take these rules as really a very high-level way of looking at sales. And this is really kind of the process that I will take clients through when we're working the sales problem. Okay, we actually work several different problems or quests in your business, and cash is one of them, and marketing and sales impact cash as well as the ability to grow and have leverage. So with that, the 5 rules are, ours is redesign the sales process. That's a lot of what we're talking about today, some of the theory and some of the strategy behind that redesign. We're going to go into the understanding the yes formula. I've got a lot to share there. And then the 3rd rule is leverage the cost of acquisition. This is about getting the maximum return for your marketing. That's what sales does. Gets the maximum return on your marketing investment. Marketing is not a cost, it's an investment. Then we talk about experimenting, evaluating, and executing, and that really is the mad scientist part of your business. So if you can think of Albert Einstein as your visual for there. And then it's all about creating the system. When you create the system, you can hire people in to duplicate. You can look at things like franchising and licensing, but you also look at ease and just quickness and flexibility in your business. So, all right. Everyone with me. All right, so let's go into the understanding the yes formula. And really what I want to start here is getting on board with your 3 ideal client characteristics, if you will. So we've talked a little bit about this in our mistakes, but the first thing is your ideal client needs to have a problem and know it. We've all know people that have problems and are oblivious to it, right? That's a hard sell or going in for the kill if you try to convince somebody that they have a problem. Now you can be a friend and you can educate and you can show, but that's not really a sale. It's not a sales potential until you've done that little bit. Thanks so much, Diane. We'll talk with you soon. We have some people jumping off. So that's the first part, is we want to make sure that they have a problem and they know it. The second part is that we want to make sure they're looking for a solution. I might have a problem and be perfectly A-okay to live with it. I don't know, Amy, can you think of anything in your own world? I know for sometimes I'm like, yeah, I know that's a problem, but it's really not important to me. I'm not looking for a solution. Okay, so that's number 2. Then number 3 is they're willing to pay. If they're not having these 3 characteristics, don't consider them a potential client. And it's really easy to ask that pay question in some nice ways, way up front, so that you get a really good idea and you don't invest or overinvest in an opportunity. So the huge concept, we talked about this a little bit earlier when I said that people love to buy, but they hate to be sold to. People buy on emotion, on everything. People buy on emotion, okay? They justify on logic. Need an example? Let's have a fun example. Since I know we have some ladies on the call that were here today, anyone have an event, a vacation, a wedding, that you go out and you set a budget for $250, let's just say, I'm picking a number, to go out and buy an outfit for it. And when you get out there, you're trying on things and you find the, oh my gosh, awesome dress or outfit. But you don't have shoes to go with it. You don't have a belt. You don't have jewelry. And that one dress, it's, $200 more than your budget. So now you're looking at, with shoes and jewelry and all this stuff, maybe spending $600. But hey, there's a great sale on, so you're really saving money. So you're excited because you're looking gorgeous in this dress. You look all put together. You know how confident you're going to feel. And you wince at the price tag because most of us go home and say, honey, look what I bought. And the first ask is, how much did you spend? And the first thing we say is, honey, I saved $300, right? You bought on the emotion, but you're justifying with logic. That's a really good example for people to understand the difference. Guys do it too. I happen to be female, and so I can come up with some more examples based on my own world and things that I've done, but it happens all the time. Okay, you just have to realize that if your sales process isn't tapping into the joy of buying and this emotional process, then that could be one of the potential breakdowns in your sales process that generates the no's over time. So the 4 P's of service, and here, this is the yes formula, just so that you know, is the problem, the pain, the promise, and the plan. And the way that the formula works is the problem times the pain times promise, so P to the cubed, plus the plan has to be greater than somebody's resistance to change or the investment or price, right? If you get the, I don't have time, I don't have money, I'm not now, all those kinds of things, chances are one of the P's is off, and chances are it's the first 3, okay? Now, here's how, when we talked about selling the destination and the journey. The journey is the plan. This is the how-to. These are the steps we're going to take. These are the number of meetings, number of phone calls, how long they last, what backup information you provide, whether somebody gets recordings or not, notes, That's the plan, okay? And that's the journey. The other 3 are the destination. So basically what we're saying is, you are here and you feel crummy, and we're going to take you over here to this beautiful island where you'll love life all the time and you'll be happy and ecstatic that you got there, right? That's the selling of the destination. Now, when you look at this, I'll give you another example here. is one of my bucket lists is to go to Angkor Wat. Now, if you don't know where Angkor Wat is, it is one of the wonders of the world. It's in, I always get this wrong, Cambodia, I believe. I know, I love the place, but I can't remember its location. Help me out. I'm not going quite yet. Now, what I know about the trip means I have to go get a whole bunch of shots. The flight alone, just in hours, is 24 hours. So it means I'm not getting to it in a day because I have to get a couple layovers. So I'm going to leave and probably have 2 days of travel before I actually land, right? And then once I land, I'm probably going to need to get to my hotel and get acclimated and unpacked, and I'm probably going to be jet lagged to heck and back, and so I'm not even going to go to Angkor Wat. And then I have to get on a bus and I have to trek on out there, right? And then if you think, can you see how like not appealing the trip sounds so far? Okay, but if I told you that Angkor Wat was this, I think it was like 60-acre city that actually was carved out of sandstone, which is so soft of a material, it really shouldn't exist. Okay, it shouldn't have lasted this long. That's how soft a material is, much less in a tropical climate. And it's so intricately carved with, this bas relief that's half, more than just an etching if you think of like the tombs of Egypt, and less than full sculpture. It's that kind of in-between state, telling all the stories of the time. You have these massive heads, very Olmec in nature. You have banyan trees that just are growing up through the structure and almost take over the structure and grow and just soar. And how impressive it must feel to just stand there, to just take it all in, to feel how small you are compared to all the vastness. That's the destination. I can even see Amy. Like, I can see Amy's face, and I can see how it shifted. Did you feel the shift between when we were talking about both sides of that trip? Yeah, she said she did.
Oh, yeah.
And when I was talking about the trip and the flight times and all of this stuff, it tends to feel heavy, right?
Yeah, very heavy.
Okay, that when you're selling the journey to a client, okay, I have a fly in my house, sorry. When you're selling the journey to your client, it feels heavy. It feels like work. Nobody wants more work. Nobody. I just don't. I don't know who does. Nobody wants more work. But on the destination, when I talked about the majesty of it, even I slowed down. And I took my time and I enveloped you into it, right? And you would have been maybe entertaining coming with me. That's the difference in sales. So if you focus on that problem, the pain, and the promise more than you do the plan, then you get that kind of magic in your business. Now, how does this show up? It shows up in a couple of different ways. So first of all, using this, you can use this for almost everything. I was just at a workshop a couple weeks ago with Stella Orange, and we're going to have her on the show in May. And we were talking about this hero's journey. If you see your client as the hero in their own story, and you're just helping them get to the treasure at the end of their journey, right? You start to see how you could really start to sell this for them. And I have this quote from Jeffrey Gitomer, who's an awesome sales guru out there, but he's like, it's not the hard sell that you want, but the heart sell. This is a guy saying this. So just because I'm a woman doesn't make it a girl thing, so to speak. It's just a sales truth. But good questions get to the heart of the problem and the situation very quickly. So if your sales process is more about you telling than you listening, that would be a good shift of how to take this into consideration. Now, how I travel, and I'm going to make the assumption because we're different people, and how Amy likes to travel are probably two different things. Mm-hmm. Right? But if I just assumed, Amy, that you like the way I like to travel, it wouldn't be appealing.
Right.
Right? So if you look at this, asking questions is how you pull out from people what their problem is, what the pain is, and what the promise might be for them. That makes sense? So that's one way that you can kind of take this information into your business, is start to feed it into your questioning, and make sure that you're asking questions that get to the heart of the problem, that get into the pain, that get into the promise, that the icing on the cake for them, their pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. What does it look like? Okay, when you do that, then you start to sell the destination individually for each person. And that's really, if you've got the opportunity to do one-on-one sales like that, that's really one of the best ways to do it. Now, the plan, here's what I got to say. The plan is important. It's not that you have to ignore the plan. It's that you have to use it properly. So the power of the plan comes in showing that you know the way, that you are an expert, that you have a process, that there's steps that you take people through. My plan is the 5 rules of sales. Does that make sense? I gave you the process and how we take clients through it. But even now, we're just like chipping away at the iceberg of understanding the yes formula and what you could do with that. Okay. It's a really big thing, but I've simplified it. I've said it's easy to go through these process as long as we take these steps. Now, in my design business, we had a 7-step blueprint plan for every client. And it was the design process, in our words, for our brand to our clients. And every client went through that process. What it would different is, if it was a little bitty project, we went through it quicker. If it was a really big project, it took a lot of time. Same thing with the 5 rules of sales that we talked about earlier. Okay, if I just need to fix one part, we step in, we step out. Okay, if we need to fix all of it, then we might be there for a little bit until we fixed it. So understand that the plan is one of those things that reassures people that you got it. And that's all that the plan needs to do. It just doesn't need to communicate the level of work. People aren't going to justify that in their first half of their business decision. You will have people, I always have to put this caveat on, there are 4 different personalities and multiple blends out there. There is one personality type that needs to know the plan in spades. And if that's yours, that kind of, it's the compliant, if you look at the DISC way of doing it, but the easiest way I can do is the engineering kind of mindset. If that's who you're dealing with, they need to know a lot more about the plan. That's where their brain works. But for the most of us, you can stay pretty high level and be able to do that. So from there, I see we must be doing a great job, Amy. We don't have too many questions today. Wanted to give you one other way that you could use this information that we've shared with you, and that's in your 30-second or elevator speech. There's a couple of formulas out there to put one together. One is just that really easily, I serve this ideal client by solving this problem and delivering on the benefits of 1, 2, and 3. That's a really easy way of doing it. I oversimplified it. But what I love is you could just use one of those benefits so that you could tell a story, because stories definitely sell, but more than, showing sells more than telling. And that's really is when you give a story, you're talking about destination kind of skill set in your sales process versus a journey. So you can use that together to really come up with a way to improve your 30-second commercial. But there really are 44 other sales strategies that hopefully you tune back in. We'll be going through them one by one on the show. That's why I love this. I have like content calendar through the end of the year. And that's what makes this a lot of fun. So those were the 5 rules. I know Amy's put them up in our chat box if you're watching us or the recording, but I'll just go over them. So we talked a little bit about redesigning the sales process. We talked about the yes formula in terms of selling the destination, not the journey. We didn't get to talk about leveraging cost of acquisition, but that's another show. That's okay. And then the experimenting, evaluating, and executing. That's rule number 4. That's the mad scientist that you need to be in your business. And then systematizing the process. So I think we touched a little bit on really why you need to systematize, what the payoffs are for you in your business. So I always love to see how people take that and use it. So we're going to wrap up the show with that. I want to give you one last opportunity to take advantage of the marketing quick fix. And you can grab that at yourbizrules.com/marketing quick fix. All one thing. I know Amy, I can see Amy typing, so she'll put it up there for you here. But that's just the first half of the marketing envelope and ways that you can grow your business and double it in the next 90 days. And that is possible, believe me. 100% is a double, just in case you're curious. But that's an easy thing to do. So Amy, do you think I left any holes, or is there anything that I should share before we call it a day?
I don't think so.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm glad we got a lot of information in there today. We'll be going through, the sales process more and more. I want to just double check here and see our guest for next week. Want to make sure it's who I think it is, because I'm really excited about it. Is it Bertine?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So we're talking about the client experience, and this is a lady who has some experience at doing this. She's worked for the Four Seasons, I believe, for the longest time, and as a concierge and in that kind of arena. So we're going to talk all about having happy clients, having a predictable client experience in your business, and really how that helps to grow your business. It is a part of the sales and marketing process. So there's some really good reasons to do that. So that sounds like something you'd like to join us with, then please join us next week here on Blab, Mondays at 1:30. By all means, you can connect with us on Facebook, through the website, or through the Marketing Quick Fix. Be happy to chat with you. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll talk with you soon.